here in the Little Theater and live online for opening session Spring 2024. My name is Alisa Fontanez, and I am a biotechnology major here at LaGuardia, as well as a President Society Ambassador. I am looking forward to graduating this June and attending City College. Before we begin, I want to introduce and thank our American Sign Language interpreters, Mary Jo Hennessy and Susan Weinstein. Thank you both for your assistance today. As many of you know, our format for opening sessions for the spring semester is a live talk show here on the stage of the Little Theater. Our guest will answer questions that were submitted by members of the LaGuardia community in advance of the show. If a question occurs to you while you're watching, you can email it to questions@lagcc.cuny.edu. We will give it to the panel towards the end of the program. If we run out of time, I promise you that someone up here will get back to you as soon as possible with a reply. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the host of opening sessions, President Kenneth Adams. He is joined by Chief of Staff Nayeli Valencia Torrent, Provost Billy Gastick Rosado, Senior Vice President for Administration and Finance Shahir Irfan, Vice President for Enrollment Management Ben Roden, Vice President for Student Affairs Alexis McLean, Vice President for Continuing Education Sunil Gupta, and Vice President for Communications and External Affairs Manuel Romero. Please give it up for our special guest. Now for President Adams.
All right, thank you so much, Alisa. How about a round of applause for Alisa? Alisa, thank you. Alisa will be back. She'll be back towards the end to help moderate questions that come in during the course of the event. Let's go to our first question, which is for Ben. Hey, Ben. Morning. Spring semester starts on, you got that thing working there?
I think so.
Yeah. Spring semester starts Friday, like 48 hours. How are we doing with enrollment? What's going on?
Well, so thank you so much for that question.
Yeah, I wonder why I asked Ben that question.
This is the only question I ever get asked. Sorry, and twice on my way over here from the C building. Well, I'm happy to report, just like the fall, our enrollment is looking very strong for the spring. I think as of this morning, we are relative to last year on this date. Granted, we still have enrollment that's happening, over the next week. But our enrollment's trending up around 14% relative to last year. So it's a really strong.
Wow, all right.
I'd be remiss not to credit the incredibly hard work that's happening, across my division and others. One of the things that's most impressive to me about this spring is the coordinated effort that's happening across the college to kind of, and everyone I talk to is just, raising their hands to volunteer to help in any way they can. So, and it's showing, I think. So I'm really excited. Just some details, we're trending up about 14% at the moment. That tracks pretty similarly to what our application growth was for this term. And when I look forward, our applications are trending up similarly for the fall. So I'm feeling also cautiously optimistic that we're going to have a very strong fall to look forward to as well.
Hey, Ben, quick question. If we end up, because I know it's several more days of registration in that 12 to 14% range, how does that compare to other CUNY schools this semester?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm most, kind of encouraged by. Relative to all the rest of the community colleges, they're up about 7%, so we're about double what the other community colleges are seeing. And CUNY overall is up about 2%, 2 to 3%. So we're really outpacing the CUNY market in general. So there are many reasons to be kind of excited and optimistic.
Well, good. Please, our thanks to your team, and I know they've got their foot on the pedal as we go for these last 2 days. I've got a lot of students still to register. Thanks, Ben. Great report. Shahir, next question to you. Obviously, enrollment drives, our revenue, and in the end determines our financial condition. As we rebuild LaGuardia's enrollment, will we be able to reduce and eventually eliminate our deficit? What's going on with that?
thanks to the work of the enrollment management and the team here, we do see an uptick in revenue collected through tuition by the bursar's office, about 10% increase. So I haven't seen the 14% yet, but I'm hopeful we get there. As a result, we were able to, Anthony Garofalo, our budget director, and I were able to revise our deficit projection to $5.5 million for this fiscal year, which at the end of the year, if the numbers pan out and the collection rate stays solid, we will go to CUNY asking them to use our reserve funding, which is at their discretion, to allow us to use that to balance our budget. And it's sort of a mixed news, partly because we still have structural deficit. We need to be mindful. We need to increase our revenues through enrollment increases, other source of revenue that we could get. And at the same time, be mindful of how we spend our money. And if we have those plans, we could slowly reduce our deficit, structural deficit.
Thanks, Shahir. That's a helpful update. I want to move, Billy, to you, just again, because it's the start of the semester, and ask you about how enrollment for the semester that Ben described has been playing out in terms of the next sections that we're running, class cancellations that might have happened. What's going on?
So Class Can Day was last Friday. We canceled 51 courses, but we're running about 1,700 courses. And so there was, Ben mentioned coordination. Department chairs, program directors have been incredibly responsive to new kinds of data that the enrollment management team has been providing, forecasting, looking back and saying, let's look at past semesters and student demand, but also looking forward, given the information they have in terms of student applications that are coming in. So we actually, while we canceled 51 courses, we added a lot of courses that weren't planned to be on the schedule, mostly in math, English, ENA courses, first-year seminar courses. So it's really about, I think, finding the right mix of courses to meet the students as they're coming in. So that openness to data, the communication, the coordination, and getting that information early so there can be action taken and structures found has really made the difference for us this semester.
How many sections were added into the schedule, roughly?
My gosh, I would say about probably 24.
So
And in those
maybe numerically
areas.
half of the overall cancellations.
Yeah.
So the net cancellations is something, or the net loss would be maybe 25 courses, sections, I should say.
I would say so.
Great, thank you.
So, Billy, we know that CUNY Central is looking at class size across the system. In fact, English professor Christy Bruns, who is also the president of the College Senate, wrote, and she said, and I quote, "Many of us have seen the memo from University Provost Wendy Hensel instructing college presidents and deans to take steps toward optimal use of academic resources by increasing average class size, eliminating low-enrolled courses, and evaluating small programs for possible elimination with no mention of the roles of department chairs, faculty perspective, and faculty governance in decisions like this." How is La Guardia responding to this memo? And is the La Guardia administration involving department chairs, faculty, and the College Senate in this response?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this memo. We need to be, we're part of a system. It's our responsibility to use our resources well. And I think the example I gave is a good recent example of how we can use our data to understand the better mix or the more appropriate mix of offerings that students need. So in this case, right, we didn't know that we needed as many English courses, ENA courses, math courses, first-year seminars, but we were adding those based on data. So I think that that's part of what we're talking about, is that we may not be offering the courses that we need. We also want to be able to use data to make sure that we're offering courses when students want them, our evening courses, our Saturday courses. And so when I read EVC Hensel's memo, more about let's be thoughtful about what we're doing and then pivot, right? If we keep offering courses at a time that is unpopular for students, we should make the change. None of this happens without the attention and the work of departments and program directors. You know your students best, they know their students best. So that is, I want to say that's a real, I think there's been a desire for the kind of information that is now being made available to more locally to departments. So that's happening. Nothing is happening with class caps. I know I was very intentional last year of preserving class caps for online classes, for hybrid classes. Those are staying the same. We made some very purposeful reductions in class caps in English courses. Again, these early courses where student success is foundational to the rest of their time here at LaGuardia. So those are things that I'm protecting. We ran all of our honors courses, even though they were small, right? There are certain things that we're prioritizing. But in order to do those things, we have to make sure that, that we are thoughtful about every decision that we make when it comes to classes. And that's how I read EVC Hensel's memo, is to say, just to be able for me to sit there and be able to have a reason for the things that we're doing and for the choices that we're making. But nothing is unilateral. Because if anything, this is about a kind of a new approach or a new kind of mindset when it comes to planning courses, looking at scheduling. Our students' needs are different. We know their online appetites are different. We're just in this period of change, and that's what I see EVC Hensel's memo trying to inform.
Thanks, Billy. I want to stick with enrollment just a little bit longer. Sunil, at least in the fall semester, about 10% of our degree-seeking students actually came from ACE, from the division that you see. How is your enrollment doing? Because in a way, you're a very important feeder to the degree programs.
So Kenneth, last year was a great year for ACE. We had 10,004 enrollments for the year. Wow. This year is looking and shaping up to be even better. We're ahead by 4%, trending enrollments ahead by 4%.
You need to try to catch up with Ben.
We're racing. We're racing.
Not going to happen.
I like this. This is a good competition here, healthy competition.
With 2 quarters down, we have 7,805 enrollments to date. 2 more quarters to go, we expect to hit conservatively 11,000 enrollments for ACE, really due to all the hard work throughout the entire division of workforce development, CAPS, TELC, CIT, WEC, all the different units are all pulling well ahead of where they were last year.
You use a lot of funny acronyms there. But you did mention the TELC, and I know, and I think I've said this to the audience before, that LaGuardia's become the largest provider of ESOL education in the city. I see John Hunt in the audience. He and Liz and others were obviously responsible for that. But tell us more specifically about, here. Tell us more, Sunil, just a little more if you have a second, about what's going on with our ESL programs at TELC, and specifically anything we're doing to help the asylum seekers.
Sure, and I'm sure everyone here knows that LaGuardia's ACE programs have some of the largest, best quality ESOL programs in the city.
I didn't say best quality? Oh, okay, and they're also the best. We got the most and the best.
CLIP, TELC, and our CIT program. So what they've launched, thanks to the leadership of Paula Michelin, Liz Anati, and Dean John Hunt, is a new initiative to help serve the recent immigrants into this city, asylum seekers and the like. As we know, it's a big part of our community here, and launch a contextualized ESL program. They've had 150 students to date in their programs, short workshops with essential skills of communication, how to talk to the school when you enroll your children, how to deal with the hospital, basic things you need to navigate around the city. And the challenge is, and also there's a waiting list that we are having a real hard time trying to get through. We have 1,000 people on a waiting list.
Say that again?
1,000
today.
Today, and it may have changed.
Asylum seekers.
Yeah, asylum seekers.
Thank you, Sunil. So, Kenneth, you said in your closing sessions remarks last in December.
Wait, you remember that?
Yes, I have all my notes.
Yeah, I can see you have a lot of notes.
You said that we will be creating a 5-year strategic plan this spring semester, and spring semester starts this Friday. So, what's the plan for the plan?
The plan for the plan. Thank you. Thank you, Nayeli. It's a good question. And it's true, we're about to start our strategic planning work for our new 5-year strategic plan has to kick in July 1st, our new fiscal year, 25. A little background and then some next steps. So you're right, I mentioned this in my closing sessions talk in December. I think I reminded everybody my belief that LaGuardia is a good community college, but we're not yet great. Other community colleges in the CUNY system do better at helping their students achieve their goals. Other community colleges in SUNY, and frankly, a good number of them around the country, there are about 1,200 community colleges in the US, do better than we do at helping our students achieve their goals. And so so simply put, we need a new strategic plan that, with a set of priorities that leads us in a way that we can do better at that basic task, helping a greater number of students achieve their goals. We've got to do better in terms of student success, but also in the equity of that success. I don't believe we should tolerate any longer the disparities in student success for example, our black male students whose graduation rate at best is 16%. At its peak, maybe half of the graduation rate of all students. As I've said before, I think, and this is sort of my mindset, like we're only as successful as our least successful students. If we lift the fortunes, the success of our least successful students, everybody will benefit. And just an update, I've got some new information from Navalera, our Dean of IR, which isn't really, well, I'm making it public now, but it hasn't been published yet, because we have information from our 2020 cohort, really the depth of the pandemic. During the pandemic, we know now that our graduation rate, our 3-year rate for first-time, full-time students, which is the standard, fell to 25%. And some of you might remember that in 2017, our graduation peaked at 32%. So we've fallen 7 percentage points, which is a lot if you go from 32 down to 17. If you go from 32 to 25. So, frankly, I'm sorry, this is a fun discussion this morning, a lot of important stuff, but we should be sounding an alarm if we now have a 3-year graduation rate of 25%. And it will probably get a little worse because that's the 2020 cohort. We've got 21 coming through and 22. 21 really is the sort of core, problems for so many of our students, so many challenges, especially if they were in DOE high schools at the time. So these are just challenges for the new strategic plan. How do we lift that completion rate back up to where we were, and then do better? Do better. We should do better than 32%, our high in 2017. Couple other questions we've got to look at. How do we connect our academic programs to career success? Questions like this are, questions that are going to drive the strategic planning work. During the fall semester, or I should say fall 2, really in January and February, Nav and her team started doing background research for the strategic plan. So we'll start with the most up-to-date kind of fact base of where LaGuardia is today to get the strategic plan started. That'll kind of kickstart the plan, that fact base Nav and her team are preparing. But one of the more important things that we did in preparation for developing the new strategic plan is that we convinced Kimberly Wright, who is a tutor in ACE, in our data analytics program, but with a planning background, to step up and agree to be the facilitator of our planning process. And Kimberly started on Monday. What is today, Wednesday? I don't know if she's here, but if she is, maybe we could introduce her. Did she make it? I was trying to get her to come. Where is Kimberly?
Yeah, she's here.
Is she?
Yeah. I found her here.
Oh my goodness. Kimberly Wright, everybody. Some of you got to get to know. We had this thing last night, an email, can you make it? She was helping her daughter with a college application, I think,
Yes,
or something like that.
With the scholarship application, which I'm sure many of you are used to filling out yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning.
So, hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Kimberly Wright, and some of you might have seen me in the hallways of the ACE Data Analytics program, where I'm helping students.
Yeah, where's Anna?
But also, wanted to tell you a little bit about myself before I tell you why I'm so excited about working on this plan. My background is I started in finance, moved into strategic consulting, did that for a number of years, then had a small business while I raised my kids, and then went back into technology after COVID because I kind of closed the small business. and started thinking about going back into technology and developing applications. And I created an AI augmented application that got into MIT's incubator. And then I was like, oh, I need to upskill. So I came here to upskill in the data analytics program. So I took all of the certifications for the regular data analytics and for the advanced data analytics, and really found that this community is amazing and wanted to do as much as I could to give back, because I was really grateful for having that experience. And so while I've been helping the students, I've been able to sort of get a peek at all the struggles that everyone here goes through, you know, in terms of like program managers not being able to have all the funds that they want to be able to give students, and in terms of students who are working, managing families, budgets, everything, trying to figure out how they're going to get through their classes. And when the notice came up for the strategic plan, I was like, I can do that. Like, I'm really good at project management, and I have all the strategy background. So I'm very, very excited. And I know that a lot of you have seen sort of plans before, and I wanted to express how this one is different. I think that one, COVID happened, and the world kind of changed, and everything became much more unstable and unpredictable. And suddenly the whole world has to upskill, right? Like, we all have to figure out like how we fit into this new world that's changing so much. And part of LaGuardia's mission is to be that facilitator, right? To be that bridge between the world and the workforce. And so you all have this huge opportunity to rethink how you want to be able to do that. And I, as a facilitator, I'm super excited to be able to find ways to help you figure out what that is, and to sort of act as a conduit for everything that you want to say or don't want to say to help make things better for yourselves, so that we can then put that all together and have that considered and included into this strategic plan. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited, and thank you so much for taking me on board.
Glad you're here so we can meet you. You all will be hearing from Kimberly Wright. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly.
And Kimberly going to continue to be a tutor in data analytics while she's doing this, Sunil? Yeah? All right, good. So you'll still be working with students. That's always good.
Thank you. I'm going to take the mic over.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Just because I want to pivot to someone else. Alexis, hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
So a student of us, Artok Dukes, has been in the news all over, and besides being a standing basketball player and a leading lead in scoring, I heard now that he is being named Player of the Year in the CUNY Athletic Conference and in the region. Has been named, which is amazing.
Arthur Dukes. We should have brought Arthur here this morning. He's probably
Yeah. So we know that Arthur benefited from housing and the help from LaGuardia Care. So can you tell us about the housing assistance available for students that are facing homelessness?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So right now, we are outpacing the support that we provided to students last year. We are now, at about, I think, 300 or 400 students that have been served via LaGuardia Cares. The vast majority of the assistance that we've been able to provide comes through the generous support of the foundation. And so the housing support that we provide is twofold. The first kind of more popular housing support is via Airbnb, right? And that is a system by which a voucher is placed in the system that matches the amount that the student has been awarded, and then the student is able to apply that voucher to an Airbnb location throughout the city. The second option is when we have students who have rent arrears or who are looking for housing, right? So we have a number of students who are housing insecure, who may be couch surfing, and those students in particular might need assistance with like a security deposit, right? And then the students who are actually still housed and fall behind obviously need assistance catching up. So while Airbnb has garnered a lot of attention, and I want to publicly thank Airbnb because they recently gave us another $50,000, to support our housing insecurity efforts. And so while that has been the kind of the portion of the housing assistance that has gotten a lot of attention, we do have a number of students who exist in that what we call insecurity space, right? So there's the homelessness, but there's also that insecurity space. And as I said before, because of the help through via the foundation, we are able to assist with rent arrears, we're able to assist with security deposits and like first month's rent, and so on and so forth. We also have some community partnerships. One of the strongest partnerships we have is via the Bridge Fund. And Dr. Mouton, and I just want to stop here and really shout out Dr. Rhonda Mouton. None of this would be possible
Rhonda.
without her efforts.
Hey, Rhonda.
She has been, I cannot describe, what it is like to work with her every day, to see her passion and her commitment and her drive. But, as far as the Bridge Fund, when we have some students who are housing insecure or even homeless, we work with the Bridge Fund, and Rhonda provides a referral, and the Bridge Fund often supports students via paying for rent arrears or paying for security deposits, first month's rent, and the like. So via our internal mechanisms, as well as strengthening external partnerships, we've been able to support a number of students, Arthur included. And so we're really excited about what's to come. We were recently awarded a Gerstner grant. It was $285,000. Rhonda was an integral part of that. Amy Lynn Calandria from Foundation was a part of it. Carrie Fox, of course, myself, Diana Hernandez. It was just a real labor of love. But in the end, as of today, we have the biggest Gerstner grant in CUNY. So we're very excited.
Rhonda, congratulations, Alexis, but what is Rhonda going to use the money for?
So she is using the money to not only help our students who are homeless or housing insecure, but also our students who are food insecure.
Okay.
And so the beauty of the Gerstner grant is that in addition to helping with housing and food, we were able to carve out some money for personnel. So a lot of what we've been trying to do is to upscale with respect to direct support, but we also realize you need more staffing. When you're doing more, it requires more people. And so from this point forward, we want to ensure that we are able to build in staffing support, into all of the grant opportunities that we pursue. So it has been an awesome ride, and we're really excited about what's to come. Gerstner's official numbers have not been released, but I have shamelessly asked my colleagues around CUNY, and as of today, we do have the biggest one in the system, but it's a hefty sum, and we're really proud of the work that we did to acquire it.
Alexis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Manny, question for you, kind of related to this. Our students learn about these resources that Alexis and Rhonda and their colleagues have, based on a variety of kind of communications tools. What's the connection there? Like, what are you doing in communications to make sure students are aware of these resources?
We're working very closely with Alexis and also with Ben and with Sunil to get information that we need to share through multiple platforms on communication. That could be email. We make adjustments to the website. We send direct communications to students. And I'm sure that many of you are now familiar with our weekly newsletter, Campus Update, which comes out every Wednesday. We've also designed a student newsletter called the Red Hawk Roundup, which comes out every Thursday for students. And so as we continue to work with each of the divisions across campus, we get more information that we need to share with students, and we're finding new ways of communicating with students through social media. One of the things that we're currently working on as well is acquiring TV screens. I know that prior to me joining LaGuardia, there were TV screens that were placed across campus. I've been working very closely with Shahir's team, along with the president's office, in order to find new locations for new screens to be placed. Our team is going to be working very closely with Shahir's team in order for us to manage the broadcast of content and communication through those TV screens. So fingers crossed, we're hoping to get that done fairly soon. So it's an ongoing, it's always a work in progress, but again, I ask, everyone here, if there is information that you would like for us to add to Campus Update or to Red Hawk Roundup, please let us know.
Get the screens up so we can promote spring term sports and, of course, Pippin on this stage in May.
Absolutely, yes.
Manny, also, what's going on with our website? Are we almost done?
Yeah, the website, it's shaping up. We've been getting a lot of good compliments from various folks across the college, and I have to say I'm also getting a few compliments from my former colleagues at BMCC. So it's nice that they're a little jealous of our new website. But I have to give a lot of credit to the members of my team, Gina, Carrie, who have really led the migration, working side by side with Shahir's team in IT to do the migration into WordPress. Now that we're in this new platform, We're going to continue to expand a lot of the content that's there, including new photography and videos. A lot of the things that we're going to be doing is really focusing on particular programs across the college so that we're not only highlighting academic programs, but we're also highlighting the student service programs. And I'm sure that many of you are familiar with a lot of the videos that we've been placing on the homepage. We're going to continue to do that. And like I said, I owe it all to my team. I think the team has been doing such a wonderful job in continuing to move things along.
Manny, thanks. You know, talking about leveraging technology for communications, I pulled a question out here from the pile for Billy. Can you tell us about what's happening with EAB? Someone wants to know more about EAB Navigate. And well, this links to a question we've had before about transfer advising.
So EAB Navigate is a platform that's been available at the senior colleges for years now, and for the first time is going to be made available to all the community colleges. So that in and of itself is an important investment in our success, and will give students a seamless experience when they move from LaGuardia to their next college, to their senior college. What it does is it is I would say an enhancement of the platforms, the services that we're used to, the homegrown products that we've been using here. Its focus is on improving, smoothing the communication between us who are working with students and helping students get access to the information and the attention that they need faster. I think it's real, where it can be a real game changer for us is it gives us far more visibility into whether our referrals translate into actual service. So when a faculty member or an advisor is saying, you know, you really should go to financial aid, well, does that happen? Now through EAB, we'll be able to see if that happens. We'll be able to say, oh gosh, okay, when are students really seeking tutoring? And are we staffed appropriately at that time? Right now, every student-facing office, and this is academic affairs, enrollment management, student affairs, we're all rolling this out together. Right now, everyone is collecting their own data on their own, trying to make sense of it, but we don't have a sense of the holistic experience of a student, and that's what EAB really does. And going to the transfer question, there's the Transfer Advisory Council, led by faculty member Misoon Doko and College Discovery Director Julianne Salazar, has sort of really, I would say, one of their most important findings is how critical it is to have a group of faculty and staff working together on these issues. And that's another thing that EAB Navigate helps facilitate in a different way now. So very excited about their full set of recommendations. They're going to come to the instructional staff meeting later this semester to give everyone a full sense of what they've learned, what they've proposed to me, and where we're going to take this work forward.
Billy, thanks. You know, we're about halfway through the show, so we need to pause for a commercial break. It's no secret that I care deeply about students' career success. And so I'm very pleased to announce that faculty and staff here at LaGuardia have been working on career readiness, some of it in the classrooms, other programs and collaborations with community partners. And I was excited to, when just recently I met with our CUNY Career Success Fellows here on campus, Professors Tamika Battle and Maureen Doyle from Health Sciences and Professor Jason Hendrickson from English. They approached me about the work they're doing in their fellowship. This is a CUNY-wide fellowship. We have three LaGuardia representatives to this CUNY-wide initiative. They approached me to help prepare our students. They're working on preparing our students for successful careers after LaGuardia. And they asked me to help spread the word. This is what I'm doing with this brief commercial. Spread the word about LaGuardia's first ever Career Success Summit, a two-day event that's going to happen in May. So please, mark your calendars, and everybody up here too, all right? And your syllabi for Wednesday, May 8th and Thursday, May 16th. And if you're about to plan other events that would conflict with that, I'm making these dates clear. Okay, don't plan something. This is really important. May 8th and May 16th, our Career Success Summit. Why 2 dates, you might ask? One day the summit will be student-centered, while the other will be for faculty and staff. So 2 different dates to separate it that way, and to learn and share the second one for faculty and staff, a lot of learning and sharing of best practices. And Tamika, Maureen, and Jason are inviting all of you, all of us, and all of your students to participate, learn, and contribute. This is for everyone. More information will be coming your way as the event gets closer. Thank you again to Professors Battle, Doyle, and Hendrickson, and mark your calendars for our Career Success Summit. That ends the commercial break. Yes.
Great.
Professor Hendrickson helped us yesterday, right, Alexis? Some of you may know this, but he is always the MC and sort of the host with the most for the new student orientation. So though he's on leave with the fellowship, he was here on campus yesterday, and we had a lot of fun catching up with him, and he reminded me to please make that announcement.
If you have more questions, he's actually here sitting at the center.
Oh, fantastic. There he is. Professor Hendrickson, thank you for joining us.
So thank you. That was a great commercial break, Kenneth.
Okay.
This is another question that was submitted for you. We know the president works a lot on fundraising with the grants office and the foundation, but CUNY is a public institution and it deserves greater support from government. Can you ask him, which is what I'm doing, what is he doing to get more government funding for LaGuardia?
You know, I didn't get that question. You saved that so you could kind of
keep you nimble.
Yeah. It's a great question, actually, because it's true. We do spend a lot of work with Lorda Bardovics in the grants office and Jay Golan and his incredible team at the foundation on private fundraising, but SUNY is a public institution. It's a long answer. We don't have time for all of it. I'll do. I think of it 3 ways. I guess in this order: state, city, federal government, Washington, right? So Manny and I and the incredible Claudia Chan, who heads up our government affairs, went to Albany on February 6th, actually Tin Cup Day. The mayor was up there too, rattling the tin cup for the city, to meet with Queens senators and assembly people and make the case for CUNY. Now, I'm going to Albany again next Saturday, and I do a lot of this in coordination with the chancellor. And some of you know I have a former career in Albany, and I fortunately know a lot of the members of the state legislature from all around the city. So, so when I go, when Manny and I and Claudia went, honestly, we were not rattling the tin cup specifically for LaGuardia. We were really doing it for CUNY, and that's because the biggest challenge to CUNY in the current state budget is the question of sufficient funding for what will be the new contract. And currently, the increases to CUNY for the new contract are not in the governor's executive budget, which causes a huge financial challenge for the university. So the number one goal, if you will, in Albany right now is to get the legislature and the governor, as they do the new state budget, which will be in place April 1st, right? So March starts, this is the last kind of push, to make sure there is sufficient funding from the state for CUNY to cover the cost of the contract. So sometimes, to answer that question, Nayeli, we're part of a system, and my lobbying work, my advocacy work in Albany and other levels of government isn't just for LaGuardia. Often it's because we're part of a system and we need to do all we can to help. I mentioned the city. There's a very different issue with the city that Shahir has spoken about before. As a community college, one of 7 in CUNY, we get a lot of funding from the city. The senior colleges do not. And so we are always either the beneficiaries or the victims of the city budget situation. This year, we've been victims. We've had to absorb what are called PEGs. It's a program to eliminate the gap. It's a city acronym for a cut. I would call it CAT. They call it PEG, or CET or CUT. It's a funny thing they do. We've had 2 5% PEGs or cuts already in this fiscal year. Shahir and Anthony have had to deal with that. There's the threat of a third in April, which would be a real problem for us. It would mess up the numbers Shahir described at the beginning. So I'm working, as an example, I had a Zoom yesterday we're creating a new coalition of community college presidents, all 7 of us, working with the CUNY Central Office to work with the city council delegation led by Speaker Adrian Adams, fortunately from Queens, been here many times, good fan of LaGuardia's, Speaker Adams and Mayor Adams' team to, number 1, fight back against a third PEG in April. Number two, try to get a restoration of some of the funding we've lost because of the first two. PEGs are baselined in city budget, which means the money goes away forever. It doesn't reappear next year. So it becomes a recurring problem or a long-term reduction in city funding. So I spent a lot of time with the council, again with Claudia, Manny, on city funding issues, both with the council and with City Hall. Finally, we do get very helpful support from Council Member Julie Wan. We couldn't have a more helpful, supportive member of the council than Julie, who is getting us capital funding. Council members can get capital, and she's getting us money, for example, for the 29th Street project we're working on. And we have other capital funding we can get from the borough president. We've made a request for an enhanced security system for the college. We need to move to a turnstile security system on all of our buildings, so 6 entrances and exits. It's really expensive. Shahir's team has planned it, and we're trying to raise money from the council for that, for example. So we go to the individual members for capital. And finally, down in Washington, yesterday with Jessica Mendoza, my amazing assistant's help, she and I sent personalized letters to 16 members of the New York State congressional delegation advocating for short-term Pell. There could be a floor vote on short-term Pell today or tomorrow. I think there will be. It could provide an amazing financial benefit to low-income students who want to take workforce training courses that are less than 15 weeks. That's why it's called short-term Pell. So I'm spending a lot of time on that issue. That's also one where, frankly, if we get it, every community college in New York State will benefit. Indeed, every community college in America will benefit because you'll be able to use a portion of your Pell Grant for very specific workforce training programs. So it's sorry for the longer answer than I was anticipating, but the point to the person who asked the question is, yes, I spent a lot of time in Albany, City Hall, and I don't go to Washington that much, but I will if I have to, but working with Washington, with our congressional delegation, and ultimately Senator Schumer and Gillibrand on these broader system issues, and then things that are very specific to LaGuardia. So thanks, whoever sent that question in.
Just because we talked about orientation when you mentioned Jason's excellent work as MC, I wanted to ask Alexis, yesterday, I was really struck by, at least the parts that I was there, the theme of making sure that students feel healthy and good and supported. And I do know that we faced a couple of challenging behavioral issues last semester, and I've been in touch with many faculty who are concerned about sort of what it's like to experience that, to know that students are feeling that way. And I know that you've got a working group underway, but I wanted to ask you, sort of use this opportunity to ask you sort of how's that going? What's the latest there?
Yeah, so the working group I'm trying to stay away from saying the working group is working, but the working group work has been going very well. We, are now at the point where we have a full series, or a full listing, I should say, regarding our workshop series that we'll be rolling out in the fall. And these workshops will cover everything from de-escalation techniques to, focusing on how we fit relative to the university, because our conduct code is actually not a LaGuardia conduct code, it's a CUNY conduct code. And, we'll also be focusing on how to identify what we call almost like these pure conduct issues versus mental health related issues, because there's a lot of parallels between, a student having a mental health challenge or struggle and then it manifesting really as a conduct issue in different spaces or contexts throughout the campus. So we have our workshop series. We're also looking at really rolling out some efforts to educate the campus community about academic integrity processes, because there's a lot of policies within, or procedures, I should say, within that policies that we haven't always completely stuck to. And so the subcommittee on academic integrity has been working on that. And then the subcommittee on student conduct has been working on rolling out what we call community standards, right? And so we want to move away from this language of conduct to community standards. How are we protecting and supporting and taking care of our community? So that is really, in a nutshell, what the working group has been doing. But it's one big group, 3 subcommittees: an education subcommittee, an academic integrity subcommittee, and a student conduct or community standards subcommittee. And our work is slated to, I would say, conclude in about May or June. We have a number of flowcharts that we're producing. We also have several listings of key stakeholders relative to the conduct issue or to the academic integrity issue. And our goal is to just help the campus community feel a bit more comfortable with the information and become much more well-versed with respect to, these policies and procedures and what should happen relative to a conduct issue, a mental health crisis, or an academic integrity issue. Outside of the working group, my division has really focused on two things: coordination and communication. So with the coordination piece, all of the crises automatically activate staff in my office. It activates our folks in public safety, and it activates our crisis counselors in the wellness center, right? And so that's the coordination piece. We are on threads with one another several times a week. I feel like Yvonne Gall and I are sisters from another mister now, right? Because we speak so often. I speak to Lieutenant Hall often as well. And then respect to the communication piece. When I came on board last summer, a lot of faculty spoke to me and said that they didn't feel comfortable filling out incident reports or forwarding complaints because they just never heard back. And so one of the immediate things that I put in place is that we need to respond to every single incident report that we receive. Now, it's very cumbersome. It's very difficult. We get a number of incident reports, but I've seen the tide shift a little bit. I believe, based on the feedback that I've gotten directly from faculty, that they feel a bit more comfortable that someone is hearing them and something is being done. And that is by way of, once again, communication. On the other side of that, we communicate with students regularly. I am not big on moving directly to conduct. I mediate a lot. I issue a number of warnings. And what we try to front load in my office is making things a teachable moment as much as possible. Our students are still learning and growing and developing. And sometimes based on the conduct violation, members of the campus community don't want to hear that my office only issued a warning. But I often tell folks that, believe it or not, a warning is a disciplinary sanction, right? So a disciplinary sanction is not just expulsion or suspension. A warning, censure, and admonition, these things are all, considered disciplinary sanctions. So it's a subtle dance, but, with the coordinated efforts, consistent communication, ensuring that faculty are in the loop, and ensuring that when students engage in behavior that violates our community standards, they're put on notice about it. We've also prioritized that as well.
Thank you. I just want to say that it has not gone unnoticed, sort of the work that you and your team has done to communicate very regularly with faculty. And I know you've done things in the English department. You've come to the chairs meetings. And I know you're working with Boyana on the so I think this continuous collaboration between faculty and staff is making all the difference. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Billy.
All right, Alexis, thank you. Thanks for all that you're doing in that really important realm, Alexis. I have a question here for the gentleman sitting to your left. Shahir, maybe this is related to the question I was asked about, trying to raise government money. Capital projects, what is, for the spring semester, what's on your to-do list?
So our facilities management and planning under the leadership of Ken Campanelli have been working on many projects. Many of them are in beginning stages, at the design stages. But I'm going to highlight 3 projects that are closer to happening, so this way you know. One is the B building, a replacement of HVAC units.
You mean air conditioning in the B building?
Yes. We are, now that the lease is finally signed with New York City, we're able to start the design, and soon we'll mobilize through the landlord's process. Keep in mind, their process is a lot faster than the capital projects that we do. So 130 units throughout the building where we occupy are going to be replaced with new ones, quiet ones, and also with digital controls.
And filtering, right? Air filtering?
Filters will be MERV 13 or 14. So whatever's the highest standard that, that those units make, that's what we're looking for. So that's a great thing. That's going to happen most likely toward end of fall, and it will continue for a few months to make those replacements happen. The next project is the library first floor. Library first floor, if you've seen the second floor, it looks beautiful. The first floor looks like it was built in 1992. So now we're going to upgrade that.
Funny how it looks that way.
Yeah, and also it's worn out. So we need to upgrade the facilities. We want to make it more visible. We want to make it so there is a vestibule between the atrium, which is noisy, and the interior of the library. It's not an easy project. We will do our best to stage the work and make sure everyone's comfortable doing their work in adjacent areas.
The
But
library
nevertheless,
staff wanted me to ask you to get glass this time that doesn't shatter in the middle of the night.
We've learned our lesson. So.
That's for Sylvia.
We did pay for the replacement of the glass. The contractors did. So we will make sure we learn from the prior lessons that we have. So at the end, it will be a project that we will be all proud of, the way it would look and the way the library is showcased to the campus. That project, I'm thinking, given there's a lot of paperwork that's involved, early next year, 2025, to start. We will work with library staff on the details and how we organize the work. The third one that I'd like to mention is the 9th floor renovation. So we're taking about 30,000 square feet of space.
What building?
C buildings.
The only one that has 9
9
floors
floors,
on our
right,
campus. I just seeing you're paying attention.
Yeah. So on the 9th floor of C building, we're taking the north section, about a third of the building, developing areas. One of the occupants will be the consolidated career services under the leadership of Jessica Perez.
Hey, Jessica. A new home for career services.
We have also a number of flexible spaces for students and mostly job training and introducing people to employers. And also we're building 6 classrooms and computer labs on that floor.
Right.
So keep in mind, we're all doing all these things, and these are vacant or semi-vacant spaces that we're developing. So that's going to happen again in early 2025. So it's really going to be a welcome sight when you go up there. And,
Shahir, sorry, just one. I know listening to you carefully, it wasn't on your list. You know, we're in one of the great theaters of LPAC, but I know you've asked Claudia and Manny and me to try to get more government money to work on the theater. What do you need that for?
We need to upgrade lighting. We need to upgrade the sound system. In main stage theater, we need to upgrade the curtain, the flywheel system that uses counterweights, and it's dated, so we need to modernize that. If we have the capital funding available, we would do all those things, do theatrical lighting, house lighting, a lot more modern than what originally was designed and installed, so we need to upgrade those.
Shahir, last one. I think, Alexis, don't you want a new student lounge? Haven't you been doing your own lobbying for that?
Yes, and
Be nice
yes.
to him.
So
How's that going?
But
What's the plan?
It's been successful, which is why I.
That's why you sat next to him this morning. Now I get the sitting arrangement.
This was supposed to be VP Rodin's seat, and I said no. I have to make up with Shahir. So yes, we've been working on converting the bookstore to a student lounge. We've been hard at work with that. We're very excited about it. I don't want to take credit for all of the lobbying. Denise Davis Cooper. Who is a real diehard, I should say, for our students and them having spaces and places to hang out it has been a critical part of this as well. So yes, we're going to be converting the bookstore.
Shahir, when's that going to happen? That sounds great.
We're planning to have the space ready for use probably mid-fall to late fall, depending on the procurement processes and the extent of the work that we need to.
That's great. That's great.
I have another question for Shahir. So last week, we heard about Scott Page. So who is Scott? And what is he up to?
Who is Scott? Who's
Scott? Let me back up a little bit. In 2007, we did our master plan for the campus, facilities master plan. Based on that, we developed our capital projects. List of projects, we lobby for those projects in order to create new labs, new programs, what have you. In order to start it, we reached out to CUNY saying it's overdue, we need to update our master plan. In collaboration with them, we engaged Scott Page, who's the only name in town, does academic facilities planning. They will be talking with all of us, talking about how do we utilize space, where are the surpluses, where are the deficits, and reviews the draft report with the college community. At the end, when the report is finalized, we use that as a blueprint for us to do future capital project submissions to the state and not to the city.
So you better introduce Scott to Kimberly, right? Because capital planning in conjunction with strategic planning, space utilization, seems like it all ought to go together.
Yes, indeed.
The chief of staff has told me that we're almost running out of time. Gina, are we running? So let me squeeze in. It's my turn to ask the chief of staff a couple of questions, right? But to wrap up, it's only fair. She liked to do this to me. Nayeli, what is happening with your favorite project, 29th Street?
Yes. So remember last year during the spring, we had 8 Wednesdays back to back to back on Open Street. We call it La Guardia Greenway. And it was incredible collaboration with all the affinity groups and La Casa de las Americas. And we just brought all the cultural programming outdoors for the students to get a feeling of how this street will look like. So now we're moving to the next step. We have been working with the DOT commissioner and with Open Streets program. So we are aiming to close from Monday to Friday, from spring to October, November. So the idea is to have at least 2 big programs every month. But what we want to do is we want students to get used to that space, that they can go out, that they can, hang out. We will involve the faculty also to bring classes out. And the idea is to change the traffic, pattern on 29th Street. And hopefully by next year, we will close it permanently.
Wow. Wow, now this, you will get more information. I'm sure Nayeli and others will get information out about this, but it does mean from DOT, planters, bike racks, furniture, chairs, tables, things like that, this spring on 29th Street. This will work if we all get out there and have a good time and bring students and connect it to the broader Long Island City community. We're doing this with the Long Island City Partnership and other groups to really turn 29th Street into a permanent pedestrian plaza. That's the goal. If you can't visualize it, well, just go to Baruch someday and stand on East 25th Street between Park and Lexington Avenue. It took Baruch 10 years to demap that street and make it the core of the Baruch campus. Some of you must be familiar with it. We're trying to do that in 2 years. We can't be as patient as those nice people at Baruch. So thank you, Nayeli, for your leadership on that project and the update. Gina, we're out of time, aren't we?
Yep.
What are we going to do with the questions submitted by the, well, I guess
We will.
All right. Well, let me, more formally recognize the executive producer of This Is Your College, Gina Taraskevich. And thank, in the waning seconds of the program, the great team under Evelyn Lomark and Carmen Griffin and Glenn and everybody here at LPAC who make the Little Theater our home on this lovely rainy Wednesday morning. Thanks everybody for coming. Promise to respond to your questions by email. Have a great semester.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.